Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics on a Sunday night, about 3 hours after the open. And let us pull up the silver chart so we can take a quick look at what is going on. This is not going to be an incredibly long video tonight, but just a quick update, a few notes. As you can see, silver flat on the open today, opened up a little bit. Not shocking to see it got pinned right at that $26 mark where it is sitting right now. And I don't know, my best guess is by the morning, it'll probably be spoofed higher or lower one way or another. We'll see how long it flutters around the $26 mark. But anyway, that is the Sunday night open. Quick note from BlackRock Gold Core, who will be appearing on the show tomorrow and has a lot of silver exposure. So for anyone who is not familiar with BlackRock, or if you already are, we will be checking in with them, seeing what they are up to, and also just talking some silver as well. So that will be tomorrow. Although to cover today's headline, I was a little bit surprised as the day unfolded. I'd mentioned last week, I forget what that number was up to, but it was, it started out, there were 1 million ounces and then a couple million. And then this morning I was listening to Bob Coleman, who did a great interview on Palisade Radio, which I would highly recommend checking out. I'm going to check that one out for a second time later tonight or tomorrow. And he was mentioning how 12 million ounces, we were up to 12 million had left the COMEX. Then I see this later that shows, I believe what they calculate, 22.5 million ounces have been withdrawn from the COMEX in New York. Now, I checked in with Rafi Farber of the Endgame Investor, who keeps a close eye on this. I don't get to do it day to day, but I just wanted to make sure that that 22.5 number was correct. And he writes back, 22.5 million since Silver Squeeze began, 15.5 million since March deliveries began. So in either case, nothing anymore. And there was a lot of people, myself included, who were wondering what would happen as this March silver delivery period approached. Now it has come, and I don't know, I would say this seems pretty significant to me. I asked Rafi last time it was on if we've ever seen metal leave the building before, and he had, although I think we're now in the territory where this is well in excess of that. I'm not sure, so I'm sure we'll verify it this week on the show, but to 22.5 million. And again, hey, 22.5 out of what was 400. So I don't know, it's about 5%. Not nothing territory anymore. Not the end of the world yet either, but I don't know, just from my studies in markets and psychology, I don't know, it doesn't seem like an accident that this is happening now. And I wonder what other people are watching as they start to see this. I try to remind myself and the people watching from time to time that, yes, because we talk about it here every night, maybe some of these things you've seen or heard before, but most of the world has no idea that any of this is happening, which is why maybe on one hand, it's frustrating it takes as long as it does to develop. But on the other hand, I mean, it's incredibly wild and surreal being able to see this as it is unraveling. So either case, 22.5 million ounces have left the COMEX. And to finish up tonight's video about the COMEX, I have hopefully, let's see if we can get my book in there without having to turn my green screen off. Come on, Jerome Smith. All right, hold on. I will turn my beautiful backdrop off for a moment here. Or actually, better yet, I won't do that. I'll just tell you that this is the book that I'm going to read 2 pages here. So I don't know, I could say, try and hurry it up. Although, I don't know, they're a good 2 pages. What are you in a rush for? Nothing's happening in silver. And I would suggest the fact that you're here now, that what I'm about to read you is better than anything else that's on TV right now. And also, I might add this Silver Prophet in the 80s. Please get yourself a copy, because I'm only on page 14. But in the back, there's actually an appendix. I think it was an appendix. There was a section there. I don't recall if it was technically an appendix or not, but I don't know, 10 or 15 pages of government intervention in the silver market. And this was written in 1982. So anyone who ever walks around now and says, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist because you think silver's suppressed," just get this book, and then you can just tell them to shut it, go do some homework, or else. I have a new favorite. I ask people to bet silver. I'll say like, "All right, I'll listen to you, but let's put some silver on it." I had a guy challenge me last year, and then when I asked him what he thought about Bart Chilton, said in the interview I did, he asked me who Bart Chilton is. I'm not saying I know everything or that I'm always right, but I also don't run my mouth until, I've researched it thoroughly, and I only speak up the way that I do when I see something that's inappropriate. At least that's my goal. Hopefully I get there. So anyway, I'm going to read these 2 pages from Silver Profits in the 80s. I learned about this book from David Morgan in his interview in the Big Silver Short. So anyway, the onset of the 1980 bull market. Each metals exchange is provided over by a board of directors that makes and can change rules to prevent trade members from getting financially buried by speculators who have not invested in exchange seats. Juvenal is the name of someone, I suppose, once asked, "Who will guard the guards?" Very interesting question. In the case of the commodities futures exchange dominated by trade and floor interest, the rules are made by the guards to guard the guards. Early in 1978, when the silver price was about $5 per ounce, the COMEX set a $1,000 minimum margin, the amount a customer had to deposit in cash with his broker for a 5,000 ounce contract or a short silver position. The daily limit or maximum move up or down from the previous day's settlement was 20 cents an ounce, or $1,000 per contract. Late 1978, as the price of silver moved up to the $6 range, COMEX officials raised the minimum margin requirement to $2,000. So far, so good. The officials were acting properly, but the hanky-panky begins in 1979. Because on September 4th, 1979, at a COMEX board meeting, Dr. Henry Jarecki, a Makata Metals company principal and a board member, is said to have suggested that silver margins be raised to $3,000 a contract and daily trading limits doubled from 20 to 40 cents. The board so ruled. Okay, it looks like we're coming through clearly here. Good. 2 days later, when the September contract had moved from $11.02 to $11.80 an ounce, the doctor, that's Henry Jarecki of Makata Metals, again suggested to the board that margins should be raised, this time to $5,000, and that variable trading limits be adopted. The board agreed. Dr. Jarecki, it should be noted, I'm going like this, was reported to be heavily short in the silver market at the time. These suggestions were embraced by his fellow board members, most of whom were no doubt also on the short side. I'll point out that seems like Jerome Smith is phrasing that as there's some ambiguity to the others, but let's see, there's a note. Okay, but that's something else. These suggestions were embraced by his fellow board members, most of whom were no doubt also on the short side. In the absence of overriding opposing forces, these changes would discourage new long buyers, encourage new short position takers, and then tend therefore to push prices down. In spite of this tendency, however, silver futures very shortly thereafter underwent 8 days of limit up trading and 3 days of lower than limit moves. One well-publicized major bullish influence at the time, of course, was the ongoing heavy buying by the Hunt brothers. In October and November of 1979, the price moved very little, around $16 per ounce, as the Hunt and others kept buying in spite of the increased margin requirements, while other less well-heeled traders were driven away. Since 1974, the Hunts had maintained sizable silver futures positions running to the thousands of contracts in both Chicago and New York, and for 5 years they had rolled over these futures into more distant months as the spot month neared or arrived. And in spite of the board officials' moves, they kept right on doing so in September and October of 1979. Obviously, the exchange officials would have to use heavier weapons to drive the hunts out of their massive holdings of long contracts. So on the morning of October 25th, the Chicago Board of Trade, which we'll call the CBOT, their board of directors invoked their temporary emergency powers, and in parentheses, Jerome says, despite there being no emergency, and adopted a self-serving rule setting a limit of 600 silver future contracts per account. Prior to this, anyone could go long or go short as many silver contracts as he desired or could afford. The COMEX and CBOT boards were by then obviously determined to make whatever rules were necessary to cause the longs, the outsiders, to let go and prevent a squeeze on the shorts, the insiders themselves, which certainly based on what he said more conclusively about Dr. Jarecki would match. Since the margin raises decreed by the exchange boards had all but shut out the small speculators, the open interest on the short side of the two-way trade generally congested into the thin ranks of the bullion dealers. Let me read that again. Since the margin raises decreed by the exchange boards had all but shut out the small speculators, so you raised margins, made it more expensive for the little guy to play, the open interest on the short side of the two-way trade gradually congested into the thin ranks of the bullion dealers. This occurred by the third week of November 79. And before I read the last part there, something that for whatever reason, I don't know why it didn't sink in earlier, but whether it's the spoofing or raising the margin requirements, these are tricks to basically buy out of a short position. I mean, it's not an accident that these all have the same net effect. You saw that over the last couple of weeks. See how much longer we see that. Should be an exciting end of the month. But anyway, so he was saying this occurred by the third week of November 1979, and then mentions, on Monday, November 26, spot silver rose by 8.5 cents to $16.40. The open interest for December on that November 23rd was 9,500 contracts, or about 47 million ounces. Delivery of all the involved silver in the future contracts would have required $7.8 billion. By the close of business on November 28th, so that's 2 days later, when the value of the spot month settled at 1826, previously been 1640, so it goes up to 1826, leap of 146 per ounce. The open interest in December silver had dropped to 7,500 contracts, was previously 9,500. By the close of business on the 29th, when silver for December delivery settled at 1816, they were down to 2,500 contracts open. So from the 26th until the 29th, 3 days later, you went from 9,500 contracts open interest down to 2,500. On the last trading day of November, the December open interest stood at 2,300, a rather small number for any contract month that still had 17 trading sessions to go before the contract could be wiped off the exchange listing. Now, with a total open interest, that 2,300 contracts at 5,000 ounces per contract means with a total open interest of 11.5 million ounces, when there were over 55 million ounces sitting in the COMEX warehouse, the COMEX board had been told back in September, you don't have a problem. So apparently they had, I'm not sure if he referenced that earlier, but says they had been told back in September, you don't have a problem. But evidently some of the board members did. They lost plenty of money on overhedged or naked short positions as the December holders of the longs profited. By early December, practically the entire March 1980 open interest on the short side appeared to be held by the bullion dealers, including Makata Metals, Jay Aaron. Jay Aaron, that ring a bell, anyone? Hold on, I'm going to go over and look in, I don't have the darn comments pulled up. Jay Aaron, that's where Jeff Christian brags about working for. And their connection to Goldman Sachs. Great name to drop right now. Goldman Sachs has sent Jeff Curry to commit felonies on February 2nd and February 4th. Jeff Christian, who goes and lies on camera, says there's no short position. Well, hey, Jerome Smith says that by early December, practically the entire open interest on the short side appeared to be held by the bullion dealers, including Mikado Metals, J. Aaron, which is where Jeff Christian brags about working for, Philip Brothers. Later had Warren Buffett involvement, Philip Brothers, no, it was that. Yes, I think when they became Solomon Philip Brothers, was that also Mark Reich? I'm not sure about those last two, so you can double check that. Sharps, Pixley, etc. Things people say. All through December, silver surged higher, reaching a new high of 21.65 on December 14th. Monday and Tuesday, the 17th and 18th, silver for December 79 contract delivery leaped skyward. When the smoke settled by the end of the week on December 21st, the price of the December silver contract settled at $24.35. March COMEX delivery ended the month on a December trading with 3 limit up sessions gaining $1 an ounce each day. Imagine a futures contract whose former daily limit moves were calculated on a change of 20 cents per ounce. So it used to be the limit was 20 cents up per day. Now found itself moving up dollar per day daily, 5 times the former limit. There were, and here's the end, there were more than 30,000 contracts in the March delivery, or 150 million ounces, which means every $1 move up meant the bullion dealers who were on the short side had to pony up $150 million a day to the exchange clearinghouse. So now you know how the COMEX treats its customers. I might add the same guy that denies and says anyone's a conspiracy theory idiot if they say that there's a short position, at least according to Jerome Smith in Silver Profit in the 80s, guy that says that was working for one of the banks that was on the hook for $150 million every time the silver price moved up $1. So moral of the story, kids, be careful who you listen to, what you believe. By all means, hey, how do you know I'm telling you the truth? Rather than what Jeff Christian said in his Miles Franklin interview where he said, just trust me. I'll leave that one at that. I won't ask you to trust me. I'll say go and get the book, check it for yourself. Any of the things I say on here, check them for yourselves. You can talk to people who know me, who knew me 20 years ago, or you go see if I have a track record of speaking about things honestly. Never claim to get everything perfect, but I do maintain my pledge that I will come on here, give you my best information. And I'm going to move past, I'd like to move past focusing on what other people say, although when I do see information that I think is designed to harm and steal from people, I'm going to speak up about it and live with the consequences of that. So in either case, by all means, I could be the conspiracy theorist. So check this for yourself. But great book there, Silver Profit in the 80s. And I would suggest if you get that, one thing I can promise is that anytime someone says you're a weirdo because you talk about silver manipulation, maybe you can tell them to get a grip, do their homework, and ask you for an autograph because I think you're awesome. I think you're a patriot. I think you stand up for what's real. And I will see you tomorrow as we dig back into silver with the folks from BlackRock. And with that said, have a great night, and I will see you guys again soon.